My beloved child, there is a trembling in the spirit realm right now, and it carries a weight many hearts are not ready for. But you were pulled here. You were summoned by a voice higher than your own thoughts. For the message of Archangel Michael and Jesus saying, "You will lose both of us if you skip." You have only 25 seconds. Do not skip. No matter what. Open it quickly before it's too late. Is not a random title. This is a spiritual alarm ringing directly over your life. Listen closely, because the moment you opened this, something shifted. A veil was torn. A barrier you didn't even know existed cracked open. Heaven has been watching how overwhelmed your soul has been, how exhausted your spirit has felt, and how confused your path has become. You have been walking with questions you were too afraid to ask. You have been carrying battles you never chose. And today, Archangel Michael steps forward, sword blazing with divine truth, to tell you that time is collapsing around a decision you've been delaying for too long. My child, the sentence "you will lose both of us if you skip" is not a threat. It is a wake-up call, a spiritual countdown, a reminder that distraction has been stealing your breakthrough. Something sacred has been trying to reach you, but the noise of the world kept drowning it out. Heaven is saying, focus. For once, do not look away. Even now, Jesus is standing beside Michael, watching your heart soften as you listen. His presence feels like warm light on a wound that has been burning for years. He whispers, "You were not supposed to fight this alone." And Michael responds, "But now the enemy knows they are awakening." Yes, you heard that right. Your awakening has started. For months, something has been trying to sabotage your hope. Something has been interrupting your spiritual alignment, your peace, and your clarity. You felt drained without reason. You felt distant from God and unsure why heaven felt silent. But the truth is simple. You have been under a spiritual delay, one that ends the moment you hear this message completely. This is why the title warned you with urgency. This is why the heavens pressed you to open this quickly. This is why you felt a pull in your chest, something you couldn't ignore. Because your destiny has been waiting for you to pay attention. My child, Archangel Michael is revealing that someone, whether a memory, a habit, or a person, has been blocking your spiritual connection. Something in your life has been dimming your discernment. Something has been pulling you away from the voice of God, and this message is the moment that influence loses its power over you. A great unveiling is coming. Michael is saying, your spirit has been trying to wake up, but the enemy has tried to keep you asleep. It ends now. Jesus adds softly, "You will not lose us. You will rediscover us." Let these words settle into your being. The countdown mentioned in the message isn't literal seconds. It is symbolic of the urgency of your spiritual season. Heaven is giving you a window, a divine opportunity, a moment that will not appear again in the same way. You are stepping into a corridor of destiny, one where your old battles cannot follow. As you listen, I want you to notice something happening within you. Your breath is changing. Your awareness is shifting. The spiritual fog you've been walking in is lifting layer by layer. Your soul is remembering something it once knew. You were never abandoned. You were never forgotten. You were never without guidance. Archangel Michael stands guard over you even now. Jesus stands beside you even now. Heaven is closer than your doubts have ever allowed you to believe. And yet there is still something ahead. A deeper revelation. A truth that will not only open your eyes, but burn away the lies you've been hearing in your own mind. This message is only the beginning. For Michael is preparing to reveal what has been delaying your blessing, what has been attacking your peace, what has been trying to distract your soul from divine alignment, and he is preparing to expose the turning point that is arriving in your life. You must stay with me, because the moment this revelation comes, your spiritual timeline will shift instantly. Before the next moment unfolds, breathe and let these words anchor you. I am not alone. Heaven is speaking, and I am finally listening. My chosen soul, there is a quiet stirring rising around you right now. A shift that whispers through the unseen realm as Archangel Michael steps even closer. His presence feels like a shield tightening around your spirit, not to frighten you, but to prepare you for what is unfolding. The urgency from the title, the divine countdown, the warning not to skip. These were not exaggerations. They were heaven's way of snapping you out of the spiritual fog that has been clinging to your life like a shadow. And now, as you move deeper into this message, that shadow begins to lose its grip. Michael lifts his sword, not in violence, but in illumination, carving open the darkness that has lingered near your path. He says, the danger was not outside you. It was around your decisions, round your delays, round the voices you gave access to. You must understand this clearly, my child. The greatest spiritual threats do not always come as loud storms or obvious enemies. Sometimes they come as distractions. Sometimes they come disguised as comfort. Sometimes they come as situations that seem small, harmless, or unimportant. Yet they slowly drain your connection to God drop by drop. And this is why heaven issued the warning. This is why Jesus and Michael both spoke in urgency. Because your spirit has reached a threshold moment, a point of no return, a moment where your next step determines what aligns with your life and what must leave it. You have been walking with a weight that does not belong to you, and heaven will no longer let you carry it. Jesus steps forward now, gentle yet firm, and he speaks in a tone your soul recognizes immediately. You felt far from me, but I was not far. You were simply surrounded by noise. His words rest over you like a healing wind. He continues, you thought you were forgotten, but you were being protected. You thought your prayers were unanswered, but they were being rearranged. You thought your strength was failing, but I was teaching you to rely on mine. My child, listen carefully, because this is the part of the message that many will not understand unless their spirit is awake. The enemy was not trying to destroy you outright. He was trying to distract you long enough that you would disconnect from your spiritual covering. Heaven knew that your destiny was still sensitive, still blooming, still spiritually vulnerable. This is why the message came wrapped in urgency. Not because God would abandon you, but because your blessing could not afford another delay. Archangel Michael now reveals something deeper, something he has been urging you to recognize. You have been surrounded by spiritual noise. You have been listening to voices that drain you instead of fill you. You have been influenced by energies that do not honor your calling. He points to moments when you felt uncertain, disconnected, restless, or emotionally heavy. These were not coincidences. These were spiritual indicators. You were not losing faith. You were being suffocated by the wrong alignment. But now that the message has reached you, that suffocation is breaking. Already, the spiritual weight you carrying before you pressed play is lifting. Already, your inner clarity is flickering back to life. Already, heaven is readjusting the atmosphere around you so that the next revelation can reach you without obstruction. Michael continues, you must pay attention now. The next shift will require your awareness. And Jesus gently adds, your miracle cannot be missed this time. So many times, you have brushed off your intuition. You have ignored inner warnings that something or someone was draining you. You have silenced your own discernment to keep the peace. But heaven is telling you today that season ends now. You are stepping into a time where truth can no longer be blurred. Illusions will fall away. People's intentions will be exposed. Situations that seemed harmless will show their real spiritual influence. And through it all, Michael will be standing beside you as a guardian of clarity. You may feel something shifting inside you as you listen. That is not imagination. That is your spiritual senses waking up. Your soul is remembering its authority. Your heart is remembering its covenant. Your mind is remembering who walks with you. Child, what you are about to learn next will reshape the way you see your circumstances. Michael is preparing to reveal the exact pattern the enemy used to delay your blessing. He is preparing to expose the doorway that allowed confusion into your life. And he is preparing to show you the key that will close that doorway forever. But before the next portion unfolds, pause with me for a moment. You are not here by accident. You were guided. Heaven placed this message in your path because someone has been praying for clarity, for release, for breakthrough. Someone has been crying out, God, show me what I'm missing. And heaven answered that cry right here. If this message is reaching your heart, make sure you do not miss the continuation. Stay connected with this channel. Like this video so it reaches others who are meant to hear it. Share it with someone who might be fighting silently. Comment your thoughts, not for engagement, but so your spirit declares its agreement. Subscribe and keep your notifications on, because your journey of awakening has just begun, and heaven will continue speaking through what comes next. Precious soul of light, there's a trembling in the spiritual atmosphere as you step into this moment. You may not see it with your physical eyes, but your spirit feels it. A tightening, a stillness, a sense that something long hidden is about to rise to the surface. Archangel Michael stands before you now, not as a distant heavenly warrior, but as a guardian who has watched your battles unfold one after another. His wings are drawn close, not as a sign of retreat, but as a sign of intimacy. He is leaning in. Heaven is leaning in. Because what is about to be revealed is not just information. It is an unveiling of truth that will shift the internal structure of your life. Michael speaks gently, now that your spirit has awakened enough to hear. You must understand what has been happening behind the scenes. His voice carries a resonance that vibrates through the spaces inside you that have long held confusion. He says, you believe your delays were random. You believe your pain was accidental. But nothing in the spiritual realm is without cause. When heaven moves, it is intentional. When resistance rises, it is deliberate. He lifts his sword toward a darkened veil that hangs behind your recent experiences, and with a single motion, he tears through it. The moment the veil opens, a flood of memories, emotions, and unanswered questions rush forward. Times when you felt heavy for no reason. Times you couldn't concentrate. Times joy slipped from your hands like water. Times you felt watched by something you could not name. Michael reveals, this was the influence of an energy that wanted to drain your strength so you would not recognize the moment heaven came calling. Jesus steps forward beside him, his presence radiant yet soothing. He places his hand over your heart and says, this is why the title carried urgency. Not because we would abandon you, but because you were at risk of abandoning your own destiny. His words settle over you like warmth that seeps into the deepest parts of your being. He continues, the 30 seconds was symbolic. Your breakthrough has been waiting at the door, but distraction kept you from opening it. Michael nods and adds, if you had scrolled away, the enemy would have gained more time. Time to confuse you. Time to weaken your discernment. Time to make you believe heaven was silent. But you answered the call. You opened the doorway. You allowed the revelation to begin. Child, hear this with your whole spirit. You have not been losing connection with heaven. You have been surrounded by interference. The enemy did not fear your past. He feared your awakening. He feared what you would become once clarity returned. He feared the authority that rises when your soul remembers who walks beside you. Michael now exposes the pattern. He points to the cycles of exhaustion you experienced, the sudden emotional dips, the inexplicable discouragement that arrived when you tried to pray or move forward. He says this was not weakness. This was spiritual resistance pressing against your calling. The enemy hoped you would drown in self-doubt. He hoped you would numb your spirit with distraction. He hoped you would disconnect before the message reached you. But here you stand, listening, receiving, awakening. Jesus looks into you with eyes that feel like truth itself. He speaks. You have been stronger than you know. You walked through darkness carrying a light you did not realize was still burning. You thought you were failing, but you were being forged. His voice softens. You did not lose us. You simply needed to clear the noise around you. Michael raises his sword again, and this time the sword glows brighter. He says, now that the interference is revealed, heaven will begin removing it. But removal begins with awareness. You must no longer mistake spiritual battles for personal flaws. With each word, your spirit grows steadier. Your inner world feels like it is rearranging itself. Memories and emotions that once felt scattered begin aligning. Clarity returns. Faith returns. Direction returns. My child, listen closely, for this moment is a turning point. Michael is revealing that the season ahead will not resemble the season behind you. The fog you walked through will not return. The confusion that once clouded your mind will dissolve. The heaviness that followed you like a shadow is losing its foothold. But there is more, something deeper, coming. Michael is preparing to reveal the identity of the influence that has been draining your spirit. He is preparing to expose the force behind your emotional warfare, and he is preparing to show you how heaven plans to overturn it. Before that revelation arrives, hold on to this truth. You were never spiritually weak. You were spiritually under attack. And every attack is a sign that heaven has placed something powerful within you. Your awakening is not accidental. It is divinely timed. And you are exactly where heaven wants you to be in this moment. Before we step into the next layer of revelation, mark this moment in your spirit with the words, type I receive the mystery in the comments if this is speaking to your spirit. Blessing code 441 is now released over you. When heaven opens a window like this, he is never for one soul alone. What you are receiving is meant to ripple into the lives of others who are silently fighting battles they cannot name. When you sow into this mission, whether through super thanks, membership, or the PayPal link in the description, you are not giving to a channel. You are placing oil into the lamps of those who are losing their light. God says, what you release for my kingdom, I will multiply back into your household. My beloved, this is your moment of action, and I am inviting you personally. Stand with this message so it can reach the ones heaven is trying to rescue next. Your giving becomes a prophetic seed that unlocks deliverance, clarity, and awakening in places you may never see with your eyes but will feel in your spirit. Those who sow will walk under open heavens. Therefore, rise in faith and move as one chosen for this hour. Beloved spirit of awakening, as you step into this next moment, the atmosphere around you shifts again. It is subtle, yet profound, like the air before a storm that carries both warning and promise. Archangel Michael stands taller now, his presence expanding, not to intimidate you but to prepare you for a truth that requires strength to receive. You may feel a pressure in your chest, a tingling in your hands, or an unusual stillness in your thoughts. These are signs that your spirit is aligning with a deeper revelation. Heaven does not speak lightly, and when the veil begins to thin like this, it means something is about to be revealed that can alter the course of a person's destiny. Michael's voice echoes with a solemn clarity. You have seen the symptoms, he says, but now you must understand the source. His sword glows with a penetrating light that cuts through the fog of confusion that once clouded your vision. He points toward a memory, one you've avoided, dismissed, or considered insignificant. It may be a person, a moment, a conversation, or an atmosphere you entered. He says this was not earthly discomfort. This was spiritual interference, a force that sought access to your emotions, your thoughts, and your peace. Child, you must understand something heaven has been trying to reveal to you. The enemy does not always approach with darkness that is obvious or frightening. Sometimes the greatest spiritual drainers appear harmless. Sometimes they appear familiar. Sometimes they appear supportive. Sometimes they appear as someone who once meant well but grew to hold spiritual influence over your emotions in a way that weakened your soul piece by piece. Michael says, the enemy used a doorway you didn't see because you were focused on keeping peace rather than protecting your spirit. Jesus steps forward, his face glowing with compassion, not condemnation. You have blamed yourself too long, he says softly. You thought you were failing. You thought you were losing faith. You thought you were spiritually weak. But no, your heart was simply too pure, too trusting, too open, and the wrong energy slipped into that openness. His words flow over you like water, washing away the shame you carried unknowingly. Michael continues, this influence dimmed your clarity. It made you doubt yourself. It drained your strength at the exact moments heaven wanted you to rise. He shows you scenes from your own recent struggles, moments when you could not explain why your motivation disappeared, why your emotions felt unstable, why your peace vanished overnight. These patterns were not natural. They were spiritual intrusions. Heaven is not exposing this to frighten you, but to free you. For there is a great difference between fear and revelation. Fear binds. Revelation unlocks. And heaven is unlocking you now. Michael reveals something even deeper, and you may feel this part stir strongly in your chest, because it touches truth you have sensed but could not articulate. He says, the influence trying to drain you was not stronger than you. It only appeared powerful because you were unaware of its presence. Awareness is spiritual armor. Awareness is protection. Awareness is freedom. He lifts his sword, and the light from it coats you like spiritual armor forming around your soul. Jesus places his hand upon your shoulder and speaks with authority. You were not losing us. You were losing sight of us through the interference surrounding you. But now the interference is exposed. And anything exposed to the light loses its ability to control you. Child, do you feel that shift inside you? The tightening in your chest loosening. The confusion in your mind clearing. The heaviness lifting slightly. That is heaven withdrawing the enemy's permission to influence your atmosphere. The moment truth becomes known, darkness loses its hiding place. Michael says, the next season of your life requires clarity, and heaven will not allow you to enter it surrounded by spiritual fog. He is preparing you for a divine elevation, a repositioning, a breakthrough that requires a cleansed internal landscape. And so he continues, what once followed you will no longer follow you. What once drained you will no longer drain you. What once whispered lies into your spirit will be silence. My child, something else is being shown to you in this moment. If you listen closely with your spirit and not just your ears, you will realize that your battles have never been signs of abandonment. They have been signs of calling. Heaven fights hardest for the ones chosen to carry spiritual assignments. And you, beloved, are one of them. Michael looks deeply into your spirit now and says, you have a destiny that the enemy tried to delay. Not destroy, delay. Because destruction is impossible when heaven has claimed you. But delay steals time. Delay steals hope. Delay steals momentum. And Jesus adds, this message is the breaking of that delay. Your soul is remembering its authority. Your heart is remembering its strength. Your mind is remembering its purpose. And heaven is preparing you for what comes next. There is more to be revealed, something even more specific that concerns the pattern that tried to attach itself to your life. Michael is preparing to show you the signs that will confirm when this influence has finally been broken. He will reveal how to recognize when your spirit is fully free, and he will show you what blessings have been waiting on the other side of your awakening. But for now, let this settle gently into you. You are no longer walking blind. You are no longer unaware. You are no longer spiritually exposed. Heaven is realigning your atmosphere, and nothing that once strained you will survive the light now rising within you. My awakened child, as you step further into this unfolding revelation, the spiritual air around you grows denser, almost as though time itself is holding its breath. Archangel Michael stands beside you with a calm intensity, watching your spirit adjust to the truths you have already received. Every moment of clarity you have experienced so far hath been preparing you for this one. You may feel unusually alert right now, or strangely emotional, or deeply still inside. That is because heaven is positioning you for a deeper unveiling, one that touches the very foundation of your spiritual journey. Michael, with his sword lowered but glowing fiercely, speaks with a steadiness that vibrates through the unseen parts of you. You have seen the interference, he says, but now you must understand why it came, why it targeted you, and why the battle around your life has been more intense than you realized. His words do not come to accuse you, they come to enlighten you. For enlightenment is a form of deliverance. When the mind understands, the spirit strengthens, and the heart becomes unbreakable. Jesus steps closer, radiating a soft brilliance that eases the tension in your chest. His presence brings a warmth that feels like truth sweeping through your inner world. He says gently, you have been walking with a calling greater than the season you were in. And whenever a soul carries a destiny that threatens darkness, the enemy sends confusion ahead of time to weaken the vessel before the blessing arrives. His voice is not harsh, nor is it distant. It feels familiar, like a memory of peace you once lived in before the weight of the world settled on your shoulders. Michael continues with an intensity that pulls your attention inward. You were not attacked because you were weak. You were attacked because you were rising. Rising in awareness. Rising in spiritual maturity. Rising in the strength of your identity. He raises his sword slightly, directing your attention to a symbolic reflection of your own spirit. In that reflection, Michael reveals something profound. Your spirit has never been defeated. It has only been distracted. And distraction was the enemy's only doorway into your atmosphere. These words land deeply in your soul. Suddenly, moments flash through your memory. Times when you felt strangely drained after speaking to certain people. Times when your peace vanished after entering certain environments. Times when joy slipped away even though nothing seemed wrong. Michael says, These were not coincidences. These were signatures of spiritual interference. You sensed them because your spirit was warning you. You simply did not know how to interpret the signs. Jesus nods and adds with tender clarity, "Your discernment has always been active, but it was buried under emotional noise. Heaven is lifting that noise now. Your discernment will sharpen. Your intuition will return. Your spiritual hearing will open." His words feel like a warm hand placed on a wound you forgot you carried. Michael then reveals a truth that has been waiting to reach you. The reason the enemy targeted you, he says, is because there is something powerful inside you that is awakening. Your voice carries impact. Your presence carries light. Your calling carries authority. And the enemy feared what would happen when you recognized your own spiritual strength. As he speaks, you may sense something shifting within you, a rise of confidence, a stirring of purpose, a remembering of who you truly are. Child, hear this carefully. The battle around your life has not been random. It has been strategic. Every moment of confusion was meant to misdirect you. Every moment of emotional heaviness was meant to slow you. Every moment of spiritual silence was meant to make you question your connection with heaven. But those tactics are failing now, collapsing under the weight of the revelation you are receiving. Michael takes a step forward, his wings unfolding slightly as the heavens pulse with energy behind him. You were chosen, he declares. Chosen not by accident, not by circumstance, not by luck. Chosen by divine intention. Chosen for a purpose that requires spiritual resilience. Chosen for an assignment that will impact others in ways you have not yet imagined. His words ignite a light inside you, a recognition that something in you has always known you were different, always known you carried something sacred, always known your journey was not ordinary. Jesus then speaks with a depth that silences the entire spiritual atmosphere. The reason we warned you not to skip, he says, is because your spirit was on the edge of awakening. You were standing at a threshold moment, and if you had turned away, the enemy would have gained another season of influence. Not power, but time. But now that you have stayed, listened, and opened your heart, heaven is reclaiming every moment that was delayed. You feel these words sinking into the deepest part of your soul. Something inside you brightens, stretches, expands. A strength you thought you lost begins returning. The clarity you forgot begins resurfacing. A fire you believed had dimmed is flickering back to life. Michael now reveals something essential to prepare you for the next phase. The interference is weakening, he says, but the next revelation will show you exactly how this influence entered your life, how it operated, and how heaven is shutting that door forever. He pauses, letting the weight of that promise settle. What comes next will not only free you, it will redefine the way you walk into your future. You stand on the edge of discovery, your spirit bracing for what comes after this moment. Let your heart remain open. Let your mind remain awake. Let your soul remain steady. Heaven is not finished, and the next unveiling will answer a question that has been echoing in your spirit for far too long. Radiant souls standing at the threshold. As we enter this next moment, the atmosphere tightens around you once more, not in fear but in focus. Something sacred is aligning. Something hidden is preparing to surface. You may feel a pull inside your chest, a rising awareness, or a sudden quietness of mind. This is the sign that heaven is positioning you for the next revelation. Archangel Michael stands before you with a presence so steady, so unwavering, that even the unseen trembles. His eyes lock onto yours, not with judgment, but with recognition. You're stepping into the part of your journey that only the awakened can handle, and heaven knows your spirit is finally strong enough to hear it. Michael begins with a truth that arrives like a blade of light. Every interference you experienced at a point of entry. His voice echoes through the inner corridors of your being, awakening memories you've long buried and emotions you've never verbalized. He continues, nothing enters a child of God without permission, and sometimes permission is granted unknowingly through emotional vulnerability, misplaced trust, or moments when your spirit was tired. These words do not accuse you, they free you. They unravel the guilt you didn't realize you still carried and expose the strategy the enemy used. Jesus steps forward, his presence warm and quiet, the kind that brings comfort without speaking a single word. Then he says softly, "You were wounded before you realized you needed protection." His voice touches the deep places, those chambers of your heart where disappointment collected like dust. You opened your spirit to someone or something you believed was harmless. You let your guard down because your heart was pure, and the enemy used that moment to plant whispers in your mind. Michael nods, and with a sweep of his sword, images flicker before you like silent echoes of the past. Conversations that drained you, situations that stole your peace, moments when you sensed something was off but ignored your intuition. People whose presence felt heavy, yet you stayed connected to them out of obligation, loyalty, or fear of conflict. These images are not shown to shame you but to awaken your understanding. Michael says, the doorway was not weakness. The doorway was compassion. You cared too deeply, too freely, without recognizing that some spirits come wrapped in gentle voices yet carry disruptive frequencies. Jesus then adds, your spirit warned you, but you mistook discernment for overthinking. This line cuts through years of internal confusion. Suddenly you realize how many times you brushed aside the very intuition that was trying to save you. Your heart was not blind. It was ignored. Michael continues with growing intensity. The interference entered through familiarity, through emotional attachment, through a bond you did not realize had spiritual weight. He pauses, letting the truth settle. Not everyone connected to your life was meant to stay. Not every presence carried peace. Not every voice echoed heaven. His sword glows brighter as he reveals more. But heaven does not expose to embarrass. Heaven exposes to liberate. Child, something begins shifting inside you now. A clarity rises like dawn breaking through the horizon. Pieces of your past begin aligning with pieces of your present. You start to understand why certain seasons felt heavier than others, why your spirit felt restless, why you could no longer recognize your own strength at times. The interference was subtle, but heaven is removing it completely. Jesus places his hand over your heart and says, you felt abandoned, but you were being redirected. You felt overlooked, but you were being protected. You felt delayed, but your spirit was being prepared for what is coming. His words unravel years of misunderstanding in seconds. Michael then reveals a truth that shakes the atmosphere. The influence that drained you was losing power long before you arrived at this message. But it needed to be fully exposed before it could be fully removed. He lifts his sword toward the unseen and declares, the door it used is now closing, and nothing that once entered will enter again. You feel something leaving your spirit, something you carried unknowingly for too long. The heaviness begins to dissolve. The cloudiness lifts. Your inner world grows brighter. Michael says, your discernment is returning. Your strength is rising. Your vision will sharpen. Your peace will expand. And the interference that once used your vulnerability will no longer have access to you. Child of destiny, heaven is not just restoring you. Heaven is upgrading you. Jesus speaks again. You will no longer walk unaware. You will no longer ignore what heaven shows you. Your spirit will hear us clearly in the coming days. His words feel like a vow, sealed in light. Michael concludes this portion with a powerful message. What comes next will reveal the blessing that was delayed. For heaven never allows a battle without preparing a reward, and your reward is already approaching. Before you move forward, take a moment to anchor yourself in this awakening, because the next revelation will unveil what heaven is preparing to release into your life. The blessings, the restoration, the alignment that was waiting behind the interference. But before we move deeper, remain connected with this message. If this journey is speaking to you, make sure you like this video so more awakened souls can find it. Comment your experience to declare your spiritual agreement. Share it with someone who may be silently fighting what you just overcame. And subscribe to remain aligned with these heavenly revelations, for the messages that follow will guide you into a season unlike any you have known. Beloved soul walking into divine clarity, as you enter this next moment, the atmosphere around you thickens with a profound sense of expectancy. It feels as if heaven itself has paused to watch what happens next within you. Archangel Michael steps closer with a steady radiance, his wings slightly extended as though shielding you from any lingering residue of the interference that once surrounded your life. He watches you with eyes that carry both strength and tenderness, for he knows that what you are about to receive will touch the deepest layers of your spirit. The revelations up until now have awakened your awareness, restored your discernment, and closed the spiritual door that once allowed confusion into your space. But this part of the message carries a different weight. It is not merely about exposure or awakening. It is about realignment, restoration, and the rebuilding of what was delayed. Michael begins with a tone that resonates through your entire being. Now that the interference has been removed, your spirit is finally able to receive what heaven has been trying to place in your life. His sword glows softly, no longer in the fierce intensity of warfare but in the warm, steady light of guidance. There were blessings assigned to you, he continues, but they could not land in your atmosphere while the spiritual fog surrounded you. Heaven never withholds without purpose. When something is delayed, it is because the vessel must be prepared to carry what is coming. Jesus steps forward, his presence soothing like a river flowing gently through a valley. He places his hand over the space where your fear once lived and speaks softly. You thought you were forgotten, but you were being safeguarded. You thought your prayers went unanswered, but they were being gathered for an appointed moment. And now that moment is approaching. His voice carries promise, reassurance, and authority all at once. Michael then reveals something you may feel deeply in your body as he speaks it. Your blessing was never taken from you. It was held in waiting, not canceled, reserved. He shows you an image, symbolic, not literal, of a treasure sealed in light, suspended above your timeline until the right spiritual conditions formed around you. Your blessing required clarity, he explains. It required protection. It required your spirit to wake up so you could recognize what belongs to you and what does not. For heaven cannot release what you are not yet prepared to discern. Child, something inside you begins to loosen as this truth settles. All the times you wondered why things felt out of reach begin to make sense. All the times you felt like you were falling behind begin to reframe themselves in your memory. The delay was not punishment. It was preservation. Jesus now speaks with gentle authority. Your heart was too entangled before. You would have accepted less than my best. You would have attached my blessings to people or energy that could not sustain them. So I waited. I held back what you asked for, not to deny you, but to protect what I prepared for you. Michael nods, his expression firm yet full of compassion. Now that the interference is gone, heaven can finally move freely on your behalf. His wings shift slightly, sending a pulse through the spiritual atmosphere. The next season of your life will not look like the last. Your timing is changing. Your alignment is changing. Your favor is changing. And everything that once felt blocked will begin to flow again. He shows you subtle signs you may begin noticing in the coming days. A sudden return of motivation. A spark of creativity. A renewed sense of peace. A clarity of thought that feels supernatural compared to the fog you once lived in. These are not random improvements. They are proof that your atmosphere has shifted. Jesus and heaven has reset your path. What felt delayed will now accelerate. What felt broken will now heal. What felt impossible will now begin to take shape. His words lift the weight from your spirit like a warm wind clearing a field after a storm. But Michael is not finished. He steps closer, lowering his sword to your level, allowing its light to illuminate your path ahead. Your assignment will begin to reveal itself, he says. Your purpose will begin to pull you forward. Your dreams, the ones you buried, will begin to rise again. Not because everything around you has changed, but because you have changed. You are no longer vulnerable. You are no longer spiritually fogged. You are no longer walking with open doors to interference. Heaven is preparing you for expansion, for growth, for elevation. And Michael's next words confirm this with absolute clarity. You are not stepping back into your old life. You are stepping into a higher version of yourself. You will think differently, move differently, love differently, choose differently. Heaven has upgraded your spirit, and now your life will rise to match it. Jesus smiles, a soft, radiant expression that melts through every hard place inside you. You survived what was meant to silence you, he says. You endure what was meant to break you. Now you will flourish in ways the enemy never imagined. Your story is entering its rising chapter. Child, you may feel your spirit expanding as these words wash over you. A quiet strength settles in. A certainty grows within your bones. This is not wishful thinking. This is alignment. This is divine timing awakening after a long night of spiritual interruption. Michael lifts his sword once more and declares, the blessing that was delayed is on its way. Heaven is shifting things in your favor even now. And nothing will interfere again. Let this truth anchor deeply within you. Your spirit is ready. Your atmosphere is clear. Your journey is ascending. Hold steady now, for the next revelation will show you the exact blessings heaven is preparing to release into your life and why they are arriving now. Beloved soul stepping into divine momentum. As you enter this part of the message, the air around you feels different, lighter, clearer, yet charged with a deep spiritual electricity. It is the sensation that appears when heaven is no longer fighting through interference to reach you, but instead is now moving freely around you, aligning, positioning, restoring. Archangel Michael stands beside you with a presence that feels more expansive than before. His wings, once folded in protection, now spread slightly in a gesture that signifies transition. You have crossed the threshold of awakening. Now you are walking into revelation, and with revelation comes the unveiling of what heaven has been preparing behind the scenes. Michael speaks with a calm yet powerful resonance. Now that your spirit is no longer surrounded by confusion, you are ready to see what heaven has been holding for you. His sword glows not with the harsh brilliance of battle, but with the warm luminosity of divine promise. He continues, there were blessings assigned to your name long before you entered the battles you faced. These blessings were never lost. They were preserved, and now they are beginning to move toward you. Jesus steps closer, his presence radiating a peace that fills the spaces inside you where fear once lingered. He places his hand over the place where your spirit felt wounded and speaks with gentle certainty. You thought you were forgotten during the delay. He says softly, "But I was arranging what you were not yet ready to receive. I was preparing your path. I was protecting your heart. I was rebuilding what the enemy tried to damage." His voice carries a healing that reaches deeper than words can describe. Michael nods and reveals a vision, symbolic, yet spiritually true. You see a series of doors suspended before you. Some are half open, some tightly shut, some glowing with intense light. These represent the opportunities, connections, and blessings heaven prepared for you. He explains. Certain doors remained closed because the timing was not aligned with your spiritual condition. If they had opened earlier, you would have stepped into them with the wrong mindset, the wrong attachments, or the wrong expectations. Heaven's timing begins to make sense in a new way. Jesus continues, "You did not fail. You were being shaped. You were being strengthened. You were being taught to discern what is meant for you and what is not." His words soothe the unanswered questions you've carried for years. Michael then reveals something powerful. Now that clarity has returned to your spirit, the doors that were once delayed will begin to open. Not one at a time slowly, but in waves, as heaven accelerates what the interference tried to slow. His sword shines brighter, illuminating the doors until they glow with divine readiness. Child, listen closely. The blessing that is approaching you is not random. It is not a vague hope. It is something very specific, something your spirit has long desired even when your mind doubted. Michael says, "Your blessing arrives now because you are finally able to hold it without losing yourself. You are strong enough to receive it, wise enough to steward it, and spiritually attuned enough to recognize what is for you and what is not." Jesus steps forward and ends. What is coming will restore what you lost emotionally. What is coming will answer what you begged for in silence. What is coming will make you understand why certain things had to crumble before your eyes. His presence drenches your heart with reassurance. Michael's voice deepens as he continues. There are 3 blessings heaven has placed in motion for you. These blessings may manifest differently for each soul who hears this message, but the spiritual blueprint remains the same. He pauses, letting the gravity of this truth settle into your spirit. The first blessing, Michael says, is restoration. Not in fragments, not in pieces, but in fullness. Restoration of your clarity, your fire, your emotional strength, your purpose. You feel a warmth expand in your chest as he speaks. The second blessing, he continues, is realignment. Heaven is adjusting your steps, removing you from paths that once drained you and guiding you toward paths that nourish your spirit. You may feel a sense of direction rising within you, even now. The third blessing, he concludes, is divine replacement. What left your life was not a loss. It created room for something aligned, something blessed, something heaven approved. Jesus looks at you with eyes full of compassion and says, "This is why we said the message could not be skipped. Because your blessing required your awareness. It required your readiness. It required your awakening. Your spirit feels fuller, stronger, clearer. The fog that once clung to your path has lifted completely." And Michael's next words confirm the shift happening within you. You are entering a season where you will see visible signs of heaven's movement. Opportunities will reappear. New connections will form. Peace will replace anxiety. Vision will replace confusion. Child, heaven is not just preparing you. Heaven is positioning you. And this transition marks the first wave of blessings approaching your life. Before we enter the next deep revelation, seal this moment with your spirit. Type "I am chosen" for this shift in the comments if this resonates within you. Blessing code 992 is now activated over your journey. When heaven speaks with this level of clarity, it is because many souls are standing on the same spiritual threshold you are crossing right now. Your support helps this message travel to someone who is one decision away from their awakening. When you sow into this mission, through super thanks, membership, or the PayPal link found in the description, you are not giving to a platform. You are fueling a divine assignment. God says, "What you release for my purpose becomes a seed that opens the heavens over your own life." I am inviting you personally. Stand with this work so others can be reached before their window closes. Your support becomes oil for the weary, light for the lost, and breakthrough for those heaven is trying to rescue. Those who sow into God's movement walk under accelerated favor. Move with boldness, for heaven is watching your obedience. Beloved soul moving into the heart of divine revelation, as you enter this part, something in the atmosphere begins to hum softly, almost like a spiritual vibration awakening around you. It is the resonance that appears when heaven is preparing to unveil truths that shape destiny, not merely perception. You may feel a strange warmth in your palms, a sudden stillness in your breath, or a quiet alertness rising through your mind. These sensations are not random. They are signs that your spirit is aligning with the deeper unveiling that Archangel Michael is now ready to release. The earlier parts of this message removed interference, exposed the hidden patterns around you, and opened the door for blessings to approach. But this moment carries something even more profound. It is not about the battle behind you or the blessing ahead. It is about the transformation happening within you. Archangel Michael steps closer with a serene yet powerful presence. His wings are partially unfurled, not in defense but in declaration. He watches you with the recognition of someone who has seen your journey from beginning to now. His voice enters the atmosphere with a grounding force. The blessing is coming, he says, but the transformation within you is the true miracle. It is the shift heaven had been waiting for. His words settled into your spirit like foundations being laid in sacred ground. Jesus stands beside him, his presence radiant, warm, undeniable. He places his hand gently near your heart and speaks softly. What we are shaping in you matters more than what we are sending to you. His tone carries a sense of urgency wrapped in compassion. Because if the inner structure is strong, the blessing will last. If the inner structure is whole, the blessing will multiply. If the inner structure is aligned, the blessing will not overwhelm you. Michael nods and adds, "Your spirit is being rebuilt. And this rebuilding is not temporary. It is eternal." He reveals an inner vision of your spirit, once surrounded by fog, now glowing with increasing clarity. Strength where there was once uncertainty. Peace where there was once emotional turbulence. Focus where there was once distraction. He continues, "You are entering a phase where your choices will carry more weight, your intuition will sharpen, and your spiritual authority will rise. Child, understand this deeply. Heaven is now preparing your inner architecture. This means that the way you think, feel, choose, and respond will begin shifting. You may notice in the coming days that old fears feel strangely powerless. Old patterns lose their grip. Old thoughts no longer resonate. This is not coincidence. It is transformation. Jesus speaks again. Your spiritual posture is changing. You will stand differently, not physically but internally. His voice carries both reassurance and preparation. Your heart will no longer give freely to every presence. Your mind will no longer open to every voice. Your spirit will no longer absorb every emotion around you. He adds gently, "This is spiritual maturity. This is foundation." Michael steps forward, his sword glowing with a softer light, no longer fighting but illuminating. Before the blessing arrives, he says, "Heaven strengthens the vessel. You are that vessel. And now your structure is rising." His voice deepens. The enemy attacked your emotions because he feared your clarity. He attacked your clarity because he feared your decisions. He attacked your decisions because he feared your destiny. You feel these words in your spirit like deep truth, being awakened from sleep. Suddenly, pieces of your past struggles begin connecting. You realize that your emotional battles were not random. They were targeted. Your confusion was not natural. It was strategic. Your heaviness was not personal. It was spiritual resistance against what heaven planned for you. Michael continues, "Now that the interference is gone, your spirit is healing rapidly. This is why you may feel lighter, clearer, calmer. Heaven is restoring you in layers you did not know were wounded." He shows you a symbolic image of your spirit shining like a flame, once flickering, now steady, now rising. Jesus adds, "You will begin to feel us more closely, not because we moved, but because the fog that once separated you from the fullness of our presence has lifted." His words wrap around your being like a soft mantle of peace. You will hear guidance more clearly. You will sense danger more quickly. You will notice spiritual shifts instantly. He smiles gently. Your discernment is becoming a shield. Then Michael reveals something even more profound, something that marks a turning point in your spiritual development. Your voice is regaining authority, he says. You will speak differently. You will pray differently. You will choose differently. And heaven will respond differently. The atmosphere around you deepens, as though acknowledging the truth of his words. He continues, "Your blessing requires this strength, not because it is fragile, but because it is powerful. What is coming into your life carries weight. It carries responsibility. It carries expansion." Michael's wings lift slightly as he declares, "Heaven would never place a heavy blessing on an unsteady foundation. That is why we strengthened you first. Child, something in your spirit is rising right now, an inner knowing, an inner alignment, an inner awakening. It feels like the beginning of confidence you once lost. It feels like clarity returning to its rightful place. It feels like destiny opening before you." Jesus speaks once more before this part closes. You are being refined, not punished. You are being elevated, not delayed. You are being prepared, not overlooked. His presence becomes warmer, brighter. The next revelation will show you exactly how the blessing will manifest and what signs to watch for. Before we move into that revelation, let this moment settle into your soul. And hold on, because the next part opens a door you have been waiting years to walk through. Retention reminder. Before you move, pause. What comes next will shift something deep within you. Trust me, you will want to hear it. Beloved soul standing at the edge of divine manifestation, as you enter this moment, the atmosphere around you feels as though it is widening, stretching, expanding to make room for something that has been waiting to arrive. There is a sense of spiritual anticipation rising, the kind that only appears when heaven is preparing to shift something from the unseen realm into the visible reality of your life. Archangel Michael stands with a steady, grounded presence, his wings lifted in a posture not of battle anymore, but of activation. His gaze rests upon you with purpose, with recognition, with the knowing of someone who has watched you walk through shadows you never spoke aloud. He understands the weight you've carried, the battles you endured, the prayers you whispered when no one saw your tears. And now, he prepares to reveal the next layer of truth, how your blessing will manifest, and what signs will tell you that heaven has released what was once delayed. Michael begins with a voice full of authority yet softened by compassion. Your blessing is not random, he says. It has design. It has timing. It has divine craftsmanship woven into its very nature. And now that your awakening has cleared the fog and restored your inner structure, heaven is releasing what you have unknowingly been prepared for. His sword glows with a warm, golden brilliance, illuminating the space around you. He continues, there are 3 phases to the manifestation of a blessing: spiritual release, atmospheric alignment, and earthly appearance. You are entering phase 1 right now. Jesus steps closer, the peace around him settling into your spirit like a gentle blanket. His presence is not loud, but it is unmistakable. He places his hand near your heart, not touching physically, but energizing spiritually. He says, when heaven releases something, the spirit senses it before the mind recognizes it. That is why, recently, you felt shifts inside you without knowing why. Some days you felt lighter without reason. Some days you felt anticipation rising out of nowhere. Some days you felt a quiet pull toward something you couldn't name. These were the first signals of spiritual release. Michael nods and adds, your blessing has already begun moving toward you. It is no longer waiting. It is no longer paused. It hath been authorized. His wings rise slightly, sending a ripple through the spiritual atmosphere. But for you to recognize its arrival, you must understand the signs heaven will send ahead of it. He continues, unveiling these signs, not as predictions but as confirmations, spiritual fingerprints of heaven's movement. The first sign, he says, is a sudden internal shift. You will feel peace in places where anxiety once lived. You will feel clarity in places where confusion once lingered. You will feel strength rising in moments where you used to feel weak. This shift is not emotional, it is spiritual. It is heaven preparing your internal landscape for what is about to arrive externally. The second sign, Michael continues, is environmental disruption. Not chaos, but repositioning. People who are not aligned with your next season will distance themselves or be removed. Situations that once felt familiar will suddenly feel foreign. Old cycles will close abruptly. It will feel like the universe is rearranging itself around you. And this, he explains, is heaven clearing the space necessary for your blessing to manifest without obstruction. Jesus then speaks about the third sign. You will notice divine alignment appearing in unexpected places. Conversations that confirm what your spirit had been sensing. Opportunities that match what you prayed for years ago. Encounters that feel purposeful, guided, timely. His words carry warmth and certainty. When these alignments begin, know that the blessing is no longer approaching. It is arriving. Michael then reveals something deeper, something many fail to recognize. Your blessing will not enter quietly, he says. It will shift your atmosphere. It will elevate your perspective. It will awaken a confidence you thought you lost. Blessings do not slip into a life unnoticed. They announce themselves through transformation. You may feel something rising within you as these truths unfold: hope, anticipation, or perhaps a quiet realization that things around you have indeed been shifting. These sensations are not imagination. They are confirmation. Jesus continues, what is coming will touch areas of your life you thought were too damaged to restore. It will revive dreams you abandoned. It will breathe life into places where disappointment settled. He pauses, letting his word settle into the tender places of your heart. You will not receive a partial blessing. You will receive a complete one. Michael's voice deepens as he steps closer. You have crossed from waiting into receiving. and nothing can reverse what heaven has authorized. He then reveals an important truth. Your blessing will require a new version of you, one that makes decisions from clarity, not fear, from discernment, not obligation, from strength, not survival. He raises his sword slightly, its light symbolically anointing your path. You are being equipped for this even now. Your transformation is the preparation. Your awakening is the confirmation. Jesus concludes with a message that touches the core of your spirit. You will not miss what heaven is sending. You are aligned. You are awakened. You are ready. Child, as you absorb this revelation, let your heart rest in the knowing that heaven is not asking you to chase your blessing. Heaven is bringing it to you. Before we move ahead into the next powerful unveiling, take a moment to stay connected to this divine flow. Like this message so others can find their awakening. Share it so someone else may recognize their signs. Comment what is stirring in your spirit, not for engagement, but as a declaration of your alignment. And subscribe so you remain in the stream of every revelation heaven is preparing to send through this journey. Beloved soul standing in the dawn of a new spiritual horizon, as you enter this moment, the atmosphere around you feels fuller, almost echoing with the power of something drawing near. The unseen realm is shifting once again, but this time it is not to expose interference or clear obstacles. It is to escort the blessing that heaven has already placed in motion toward your life. Archangel Michael stands before you now with a presence that feels both protective and celebratory, as if heaven itself recognizes that you have reached a threshold few ever cross consciously. His wings rise in a silent acknowledgement of the spiritual strength you have regained. His gaze carries the depth of someone who knows exactly what is coming next and understands how much your spirit has been prepared to receive it. Michael begins speaking with a resonance that echoes through the inner landscape of your soul. You have walked through awakening, cleansing, alignment, and preparation. Now you stand in the space where heaven begins to reveal the nature of the blessing itself. His sword glows with a golden radiance that fills the spiritual atmosphere, illuminating your path. The blessing you are about to receive is not vague. It is not symbolic. It is not something merely emotional or internal. It is a tangible shift, a divine release that will manifest in real ways, visible, undeniable, transformative. Jesus steps beside him with a gentleness that settles your spirit. His presence feels like breath returning to lungs that had been held tight for too long. He says, the blessing has a purpose. It is not merely to comfort you, but to reposition you. It will restore what was broken, elevate what was dormant, and allot what was hidden. His words feel like light touching every wounded place inside you. You had endured much. Your perseverance has not gone unseen. Heaven responds to endurance with reward. Michael continues, the blessing carries 3 layers: healing, expansion, and elevation. He lifts his sword slightly. The first layer begins within you. Healing that goes beyond emotion and reaches into the structure of your spirit. Healing that removes fragmentation, mends internal divides, and strengthens the core of your identity. He explains that many blessings cannot manifest until inner healing has created a stable foundation. Now that this foundation is forming, the internal blessing will begin revealing itself through clarity, renewed purpose, and emotional strength. Jesus nods and adds, you will begin to feel whole in places you once felt broken, complete in spaces you once felt empty, strong in areas where you once felt fragile. His voice carries a certainty that fills the atmosphere. This is not temporary healing. This is restoration. Michael then unveils the second layer, expansion. Your blessing will stretch your life beyond its current boundaries. New doors will open. New connections will appear. New opportunities will align. He steps closer. This expansion may feel unfamiliar at first because it will move you out of old patterns and into new territory. But do not fear this movement. It is heaven increasing your capacity. You may feel something stirring inside you, a quiet anticipation, a rising sense of possibility. These sensations are signals of the expansion already beginning to unfold. Jesus speaks next, his tone carrying a steady strength. You will notice divine timing aligning with unusual precision. Things that once felt impossible will suddenly appear achievable. Delays that frustrated you will now reveal their purpose. You will understand why certain prayers had to wait. He looks at you with soft intensity. Your blessing requires the space you now have within and around you. Michael lifts his sword again, illuminating the final layer, elevation. The blessing will lift you, he says. Not superficially, not temporarily, but spiritually and situationally. You will rise into roles, responsibilities, and environments that match who you truly are. His wings shift slightly, sending a ripple through the spiritual realm. Elevation is heaven's acknowledgement of your growth. He explains that this elevation is not about status, it's about alignment. It is about stepping into the version of yourself that heaven always intended. You will recognize elevation when you begin making choices with clarity instead of fear, with confidence instead of hesitation, with wisdom instead of impulse. Jesus then adds with a gentle firmness, do not shrink when the blessing arrives. Do not doubt yourself. Do not question whether you deserve it. You survived the attacks meant to break you. You endured seasons meant to silence you. You remained open when your heart was weary. You are not receiving a blessing as a reward. You are receiving it because it is your inheritance. Michael steps even closer now, and the air around you becomes charged with spiritual electricity. Your blessing will not arrive quietly. It will announce itself through signs you cannot ignore. He begins revealing what these signs will look like. A shift in your atmosphere, a stirring in your spirit, a confirmation in your path, a moment of clarity that feels divinely timed. He continues, your blessing will be recognizable because it will fit your spirit, not just your circumstances. It will bring peace, not confusion. It will bring alignment, not chaos. It will bring strength, not fear. You may sense something awakening inside you, a rising confidence, a recognition that your life is on the verge of transformation. This is not imagination. It is spiritual alignment. Jesus concludes softly, your waiting was not wasted. Your pain was not pointless. Your journey was not in vain. The blessing that comes now is shaped precisely for you. Michael looks to you with a final message for this moment. Prepare your heart. Prepare your mind. Prepare your spirit. Because the next part will reveal the moment heaven has chosen to release the fullness of what has been promised to you. And so you stand on the threshold of the final unveiling, where heaven prepares to pour what it has held for you. When you are ready, we will step into the completion of this divine message. Beloved soul standing beneath the open heaven, as you enter this final part of the message, the spiritual atmosphere around you shifts into something weightier, deeper, almost sacred. It feels as though heaven itself has leaned closer, gathering its breath before releasing something long prepared for you. Archangel Michael stands before you with his full presence revealed, wings expanded in their ancient brilliance, sword lowered not in battle but in blessing. His gaze carries the fullness of every revelation you have received, every interference removed, every awakening restored. Jesus stands beside him, radiant, steady, carrying the calm certainty of someone who already sees the ending of a story you are only just stepping into. You have come through each stage of revelation, and now you stand in the moment heaven has been guiding you toward from the very beginning. Michael begins speaking, his voice deeper and quieter than before, yet filled with a power that seems to vibrate through the unseen. You have reached the point of release, he says. Not the beginning of it, but the fullness of it. Heaven has watched your endurance, your persistence, your willingness to awaken when it would have been easier to turn away. And now you stand in the place where the blessing that was delayed, preserved, and prepared is ready to descend. Jesus takes a step forward, and instantly the atmosphere shifts again. Clarity sharpens, peace settles, and your spirit feels as though it is being held in gentle, divine hands. This blessing, he says softly, is not meant to comfort only. It is meant to transform. It is meant to shift the direction of your life. It is meant to align you with what heaven wrote about you from the beginning. His eyes reflect a depth that reaches straight into the center of your soul. You are standing at the doorway of destiny. Michael lifts his sword, allowing its golden light to spill over the path ahead of you. The moment of release, he declares, is activated when heaven sees readiness within the spirit, alignment within the heart, and clarity within the mind. All three have awakened within you. He pauses, letting the truth settle within you. Therefore, the blessing will no longer wait. It will no longer pause. It will no longer hover above your timeline. It will descend. As he speaks, you may feel a gentle warmth spreading across your chest, or a subtle pressure behind your eyes, or a rising stillness inside you. These sensations are not random. They are signs that your spirit is absorbing what heaven is pouring into this moment. Jesus continues, your blessing comes in fullness, not in fragments, not in small portions, not as a trickle, but as a release. His voice resonates like a wave of light. What is coming will touch three areas of your life: your identity, your path, and your purpose. He begins with the first. Your identity will be strengthened. Shame will lose its voice. Old labels will fall away. The version of you shaped by pain will dissolve, and the version of you shaped by truth will rise. You may sense something lifting inside you, a quiet shift of perspective that feels like freedom. Michael speaks next. Your path will open. Opportunities that were once blocked will now flow. Directions that were once unclear will become obvious. People who are part of your destiny will step forward. People who have completed their role will step back. Your steps will align with heaven's timing. Then Jesus reveals the final piece. Your purpose will ignite, not in confusion or pressure, but in clarity. You will feel drawn, not pushed. You will feel guided, not lost. You will feel inspired, not overwhelmed. He smiles gently. Purpose is not about doing. It is about becoming. And you are becoming. Michael's presence intensifies, but not in urgency, in authority. The blessing you are receiving now, he says, is not merely a gift. It is an activation. It awakens abilities within you. It strengthens spiritual senses. It expands awareness. It elevates your voice. It anchors your discernment. His wings shift, and the light that reflects from them feels like ancient truth being poured over your timeline. You will not walk the same after this. Jesus then whispers the words that finalize everything. What heaven has released cannot be taken, cannot be delayed, cannot be interrupted. It is sealed. A deep stillness surrounds you now, the kind that feels like the moment before dawn breaks. You may sense the gravity of everything aligning, your past, your present, your future drawing together into a single point of divine intention. And then Michael speaks the words that complete this message. You have been awakened. You have been restored. You have been aligned. Now you are released into your blessing. Walk forward without fear. Heaven walks with you. Let these words settle into your bones, your spirit, your identity. This moment marks the turning point. You do not leave this message the same person who entered it. Something is different now. Something is activated. Something is rising. Before the blessing fully integrates into your path, seal this moment in your spirit. Type "I am ready" for the release in the comments if this message has ignited truth within you. Blessing code 1717 is now sealed over your journey. Beloved soul, as heaven releases this blessing over your life, remember that there are thousands more standing where you once stood, confused, weary, overwhelmed, and in need of the same awakening you received here. When you support this mission through super thanks, membership, or the PayPal link in the description, you are not giving to a creator. You are sowing into the spiritual liberation of others. God says, "Every seed planted into my work multiplies into a harvest of souls reached." This is your invitation to stand as a light bearer, as one who helps carry this message into the lives of those heaven is urgently trying to reach. I speak over every giver. May your seed unlock doors, release favor, and draw heaven's covering over your household. Step boldly, for your obedience becomes a prophetic act. Move as one chosen, for the heavens are watching your faith.